Welcome to the Church Resource, where we talk about the best resources for pastors, leaders, and lay people. I'm your host, Jeff Oliver. I want to look at today a book that's actually part of a series, and I might cover some of the other books in other episodes of the podcast here, but this one is a favorite of mine. It is from the series called a CHS, that's Charles Haddon Spurgeon Gem. It is one in a paperback series. I think it's about 8 books that are in the series, and this one is in particular. I've seen other versions of this, but this one, as a part of this series from Pilgrim Publications, is called Pictures from Pilgrim's Progress, and this is Charles Spurgeon's work on his favorite book. That's second only to the Bible. That he says in this book, he says that I've read Pilgrim's Progress some 100 times in my lifetime, and I'm not sure when he wrote this, later in his life, I would think. And he wrote this book as a commentary, chapter by chapter, on the book Pilgrim's Progress. Now, if you're not familiar with that book, you need to get familiar with it. I think it's a great demonstration, an explanation, an allegory, really, of the gospel, of how someone comes to faith and how someone goes through certain difficulties in life and the things that they will encounter, the people they will encounter, the types of obstacles they will come across as they journey toward the celestial city, which is, of course, heaven, that we're all looking forward to and that we want to get to. But how does someone make that journey then from their home, which is in a place of being lost and being unsaved, of course, and how do they make that trek then to be able to be in the celestial city with God, with Jesus and the saints forever. So Charles Spurgeon loved that book, loved the work of John Bunyan, and he wants to give us commentary on this book. Now, some of these chapters are actually taken directly from sermons. He would do a series, even a Sunday night series, on the book Pilgrim's Progress, and his comments on that on each chapter are taken and transcribed really into this form that we have here. So this is partially from sermons, partially from his other writing, just his own study and commentary of the book Pilgrim's Progress. And I think Charles Spurgeon just wanted to make sure that this was accessible to people who might be reading Pilgrim's Progress. It was an encouragement to read Pilgrim's Progress, and then to make sure that they understood what they were reading. So I would say that this is an excellent companion for you to read along with Pilgrim's Progress. As I read over some of the chapters again this week, I think that it's important maybe to read the chapter on the chapter of Pilgrim's Progress that you're reading, in other words, the commentary on that book, and then read the chapter of the book, and then read the commentary on it again. I think just to make sure you don't miss anything, and some of the things that you would need to know going into the book Pilgrim's Progress, just if nothing else, to place you in the right time frame and to understand what's going on, the environment there that he's talking about in the book Pilgrim's Progress. What I appreciate about Spurgeon's writing on this too is that he, as much as he loved John Bunyan, and he read other books by John Bunyan, and was a huge fan, if he would even have called himself that, a fan of John Bunyan's work, obviously of Pilgrim's Progress, but he also does not mind disagreeing with John Bunyan at one point. In fact, in this one that is a comment on the chapter 2 Pilgrims in the Slough of Despond, he says that, now, I feel inclined to blame Evangelist for some of the discomfort that poor Christians suffered in the Slough of Despond. I am a great lover of John Bunyan, but I do not believe him infallible. And he says that he heard a story about John Bunyan who was encountered by someone who was just a fisherwoman who just was a common laborer. But she had read John Bunyan's work, and she was telling John Bunyan that he had done some of it wrong. And Spurgeon is agreeing that some of the steps, some of the details of how Christian, the main character in the book, the one who is walking his way towards the celestial city, some of the things that he encountered were were just not in the right order. Some things were done improperly, and she wanted to share that with him. And now Charles Spurgeon shares it for us. So he says, so he's not just kind of blindly following and agreeing, soaking up everything that John Bunyan says or does within Pilgrim's Progress, but I think that's what makes it a good commentary, is that we're going to get someone else's opinion on what is certainly a classic of Christian literature, one that, again, you need to get a hold of if you've not already. If you do, as I do with so many books, if you have it now on your shelf but have never cracked the book open, you need to do that and make sure that you're reading that. It's a good read. I think it's fun to do as an audiobook. It's been redone. Pilgrim's Progress has been redone in many ways, and even in a children's form, in cartoons that for children to watch. But back to this book, which is pictures from Pilgrim's Progress. Again, I've seen it in other forms. I like it in this small handy paperback that I can just carry with me and read this, again, a CHS gem, which is the part of the series then that of Charles Spurgeon's work. Again, from Pilgrim's Publications, I want to highly recommend this. I recommend that you read this as you go along, with hand in hand with reading Pilgrim's Progress, and make sure that you understand and kind of get all the meat out of what you're reading there in Pilgrim's Progress. This is an indispensable work by Charles Spurgeon. Pictures from Pilgrim's Progress. I highly recommend this. Well, that is one book on my shelf that has been helpful to me in my ministry, and I hope this gives you a bit of direction as you prayerfully consider which resources might best help you and the people you minister to. Now, thanks for listening to The Church Resource. Make sure that you give us a review, and if you have any suggestions of resources that you would like us to look at, just email us at thechurchresource@gmail.com. That's thechurchresource@gmail.com.